Welcome to Out and About with Barb and Andre, the video storytellers.
Here is a clue as to where we're going to go today. Little red caboose, chug, chug, chug. Little red caboose, chug, chug, chug. Little red caboose behind the train, train, train. Smokestack on his back, 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 back. Run around the track, 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 track. Little red caboose behind the train. Woo, woo! How's
Whoa, that? Whoa. All right, so we're going to do something with railroads.
Yes, we are.
All right.
We are going to go to the Midwest Railway Preservation Society down in the flats in Cleveland, Ohio.
You know what's interesting down there is they have that little red caboose. It was kind of cute what you did there.
Thank you.
Which you can see when you drive up to it. But the thing I found the most interesting was that roundhouse.
Ah, yes, the Roundhouse.
Yes.
It wasn't actually round.
That reminds me of a story.
Oh, tell me, Andre.
Back to my days when my folks were in vaudeville, I used to listen to the comics, and they would say, "Run in the roundhouse, Nellie. He can't corner you there."
Oh boy, I have to put up with this, but that's okay. That's okay. Now, since we're talking about roundhouses, that one is actually not all the way around. It's about 1/3 of the way around, and then of course there's the turntable. But the first roundhouse was built in 1839 in Derby, England, and it had 16 places where trains could pull in. This is going to be an interesting show with interesting people, and
Yes.
you're going to learn a lot. Now, what did you like best?
Well, the restoration of the Pullman car I thought was an interesting explanation, because they took what had been, what was it, an observation deck, right?
Yes, and they turned it into.
They turned it into a special car where you could come have a drink and whatever.
Right. Well, just the end of the car. They didn't take the whole observation deck, just that part that was the observation deck.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you were paying attention.
Where the politicians went out and made their speeches, you know, as they went around the country and things. The only part of it. I thought it was very interesting where you slept, because, oh, the bugs.
One ladder.
Never mind. Someone had to take the ladder away so that people wouldn't kill themselves.
I like the way you were getting up into it.
Oh, that was terrible. If I had to get up in the middle of the night, I would have died. Anyhow, it was exciting. It was nice. You will find out all about their restoration, how they did try to match everything and make it look just like it was when it was in use. What can I say other than grab a cup of coffee or tea and sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Out and About with Barb and Andre, the video storytellers. Today we are down in the Cleveland Flats at the Midwest Railway Preservation Society. You are going to see many different things today and hear from several of the people that work down here as volunteers. Come with us for a wonderful day. We're out and about. The first thing you need to do is to go to their website, which is www.midwestrailway.org, and you will get directions on how to get here. The first thing you see when you come down the road on West 3rd is this Little Red Caboose. We all know that song, the Little Red Caboose song, and if you have children with you, they'll know it for sure. But for now, we're going to go in and talk to the president. Come on with us. If you are short, some of us are vertically challenged, you know. They do have a little stool here, which helps you out. But of course, you have to grab on to these handrails on both sides, pull yourself up, and you know, David said he'd help me, but I outweigh him. I figured I'd pull him over the side. I made it to the top, and I'm standing here with the president of the organization named David Shellhorn, and he is going to give us an overview of what we're going to see today. David?
Well, Barb, today we are here at the Baltimore, Ohio Roundhouse, built in 1906. We are standing here on the Little Red Caboose, the Baltimore, Ohio wagon top. We will tour the inside of the Caboose. We will also have a chance to tour the inside of the 1924 Mount Baxter, a Pullman passenger car. We have a diesel locomotive, a road switcher. We have a steam locomotive, numbered the 4070, known to many as the steam locomotive that ran in the Cuyahoga Valley. That locomotive is the Light Mike, and it was originally on the Grand Trunk Western Railway. In addition, we will also tour the facility. The Baltimore, Ohio Roundhouse facility itself is just as much as an attraction as the equipment.
All right. Well, that was a nice overview, but you know, now that we're here and we're probably going to leave this area when we're done, I want to know about this car particularly. What is this for?
Well, this is not actually a steering wheel, as most people might think. The wheel is actually a handbrake on the train car. Every train car has a handbrake, which allows it to stop the train when the car is not moving.
All right. They have done away with the cabooses, correct?
The caboose is traditionally no longer used on trains today.
So where's the brake now?
The brakes are on all the train cars, and they are controlled by the locomotive engineer in the diesel engine.
Ah, what happens if something happens to that engineer in the diesel?
Well, the diesel engineer today, they have what is called a dead man switch. That the engineer has to press this button every so many seconds to keep the engine active. If he does not press the button or moves, the engine automatically shuts itself down and stops the train.
Unbelievable. See, you learn something new every day. Now we're going to go inside and check out the inside. Come on. David and I decided to come in and sit down and talk about this wonderful caboose. David, about how long is this?
This caboose is 35 feet long.
And how many men lived in here?
A crew of 2 to 3 people were in this caboose at any one time.
Okay, and what are the amenities that they had in here while they were riding the rails?
Well, the amenities of a caboose were, this is their home away from home. Now, the railroad crews called this a crummy. And you'll notice, as you tour what we call amenities, they had a stove. That stove was also their heat source in the wintertime. They had a sink for washing their hands, preparing any food. Now you're away from home, you don't have city water supply, so you have a water tank. That water tank has a very small quantity of water. If you're going between Cleveland and St. Louis, that's all the water you have. So you're very careful with your water. This does not have an electrical outlet for a refrigerator. This is 1941, this car goes into service. You have an ice box. So they get a block of dry ice that keeps their food cool. That is the amenities that you have in a caboose. And you certainly have your restroom facility.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I was going to wait for that. I was going to say, what, no restroom?
But it's a little rough. It's pretty much a hole in the floor in 1941. It's not what you're used to today. And you have a seat where you do work. You're constantly working as a railroad crew. This is not a passenger seat. You are constantly working, and you are looking out at the train and observing what's going on, making sure the train is okay as you're traveling.
Well, excellent. Well, you know, it might be a compact space, but I guess the men became really good friends.
They had to be working well together. And this is very good, and it's dry inside as well.
That's very important.
Yes.
Okay, David, I think that was a great overview, and I think we're going to go on to the next car.
Excellent.
Or the next place, whatever.
Excellent.
Okay. Come on with us. We are now at the back of the Roundhouse, going toward the turntable. I'm on a diesel engine, which is running, as you can hear. But you know, I'm not going to tell you about this. We have an expert with us who is going to give you the information that you want to know. And his name is Bill Brown. Bill, tell us all about this engine that we're on.
Sure. This is an Alco road switcher called an RS3. It was built in 1950, so it's an oldie but a goodie. It has 1,650 horsepower, and it's really hard to get all those horses in there, but they're in there. She worked her life at PPG as a switch engine. RS road switcher means it works on the road and in the yard, but this one spent most of its life as a switch engine building trains, shoving materials into the plant, and so forth. One of our older members purchased her and donated it to us. In her day, she would do 70 miles an hour out on the open road. I don't think that would happen anymore. It's all we can do to kind of keep her up to snuff. We use her for excursions and things of that nature. Now, a diesel engine is a bit of a misnomer. The diesel engine runs a generator which makes electricity, which goes into the motors called traction motors, which are in the wheel sets. It's sort of like a rolling electric plant, if you will. Huge compressors for the air brakes. She's an old trooper. She's done really great service for a long time, and we're going to preserve her as long as we can.
Why is it called a she?
It's like with boats, somehow that's just evolved, and it's actually a gesture of great respect. Because everyone knows that women are smarter than men to begin with.
And we work harder too.
Let's not push it, Barb.
Okay, next question is it easier for a diesel to push cars back and forth as a switcher, or is it easier to go on the open tracks?
Yes. It's different forces. If you want to run this at 70 miles an hour, pulling 70 cars, that takes a tremendous amount of power. Then if you add in a grade where you want to pull up, that's pretty difficult. But then you have momentum. You don't start off at 70 miles an hour. This engine, the older engines require a deft set of hands, if you will. They teach you in engineer school you have to feel it in your rear end. And it takes a sense of it. It's sort of like when you first start driving a car and they say put on a brake. You don't smash on the brake. You learn to get a little bit of a sense of feel for it. Running a locomotive is not hard. Stopping it in the right place is the hard part. And then when you're switching, what makes that hard is you have to work with your ground people who are in between the cars and you can't see them, and that's where the communication is very important.
I see.
This equipment is very unforgiving. What we're standing on is about 135 tons. Your car over there, it might be 2.5 tons. So it's very unforgiving. If someone's in between, if the wheel goes over them, and these accidents happen all the time. So safety, safety, safety. You'll see a sign in there. It says, remember your friends on the ground. They depend on you. The first rule as an engineer, you don't move it till he tells you. Because if it's not moving, we got a chance. If it's moving and someone's in the wrong place, and it happens all the time.
I can imagine. Well, I think it's time that we went inside. And
we can do that.
Maybe make it move a little bit.
It'll
We're
move.
Lucky.
If you hear me a call for left or right turn, then we're in trouble.
Okay.
Forward or back? Did you get the handbrake?
We're rolling, almost. The track is clear on both sides. And we're moving forward onto the turntable. Two blasts of the horn is go ahead. 3 blasts is back up. We are going onto the turntable. I'd say this thing has to be very, very strong. 2 blasts means come ahead. 3 blasts is back up. And 1, you are waiting. 3 blasts means back up. Here I am with Nate Mazo, and he is a conductor. He's going to tell us about the 3 important hand signals that he gives to the engineer, and the engineer responds back before the train goes anywhere. Nate, how long have you been doing this?
For about 2 years now.
And what got you interested in the Preservation Society?
The historic equipment that we have down here.
And how did you first hear about it?
By accident.
Oh.
I actually stumbled upon this page one Saturday morning.
Oh, okay, and you've been involved ever since?
Ever since.
Oh, well, that's good, see? And we need more young people doing that, coming out, getting involved, liking what they see, and coming and helping out and really becoming an enthusiast. Now for the hand signals.
Sure. There's 3 basic hand signals that all railroads use to control the movement of a locomotive. Now I'll demonstrate those hand movements for you.
All right, what's the first one?
The first one, the most important one, is stop.
Okay.
And that's a simple side-to-side movement of your arm like so. And when I get it to the engineer, he'll stop the locomotive and train immediately.
Does he respond back to you or just stop the train?
He just stops the train.
Okay.
And after, if I want to move forward, I just give him a hand signal like so. Then he'll move the engine forward. And when I want him to back up, just a simple hand motion like so.
Okay.
And those are your 3 basic hand signals to control the movement of a train.
And also, he responds by using his whistle, doesn't he?
He does indeed. When he goes forward, he'll toot the horn twice. When he's backing up, he'll toot the horn 3 times. When he's at a complete standstill, 1 long tug.
Okay, now we know. Keep that in mind as you're going down the tracks. If you hear these different things, these different sounds, you know. 2, he's going forward. 3, he's going backward. And 1, they're stopped. Okay, and don't try and beat a train. On to the next thing. Now that the hand signals have been given, it's up to Bill to run this engine. And he is going to show you the different levers and things that he needs to make it go forward, back, and do some other things.
Well, we want to keep it to forward and back because some of those other things are not a good idea. We start here with the brake. The most important thing. It's easy to run a locomotive, but stopping it in the right place is important. This is called the independent. This only works in the engine brake. This is the train brake or the automatic, or we call it the big air. And what this does is it puts a charge into the cars that we might be hooked up to because you want to control the slack. If you only use this brake and you had 25 cars behind you, those cars will smash into each other and push the engine forward. So you combine the use of the automatic with the independent. This is the sander. This releases sand onto the track, so if you have wet tracks or you're on a grade, you can go. This is pneumatic. Everything in here is pneumatic. It's an old engine, meaning it's air power driven. The compressor drives it. This is the bell. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but that's all you got to do is put the bell on. There's a whole myriad of switches here, some of which I know what they're for and some I don't. But the important thing here is the throttle, or it has 8 notches. This is called a progressive throttle because it has no notches. You do it by feel, much like you would drive a car. You know, you don't slam on the gas or slam on the brakes. This is a directional, forward and back. Forward, on the front of the engine, by law, there's an F. That reminds everybody which end is the front, because I don't move this until the ground person, the brakeman, the conductor, whoever, says come ahead, or makes a hand signal, or come forward. We all know that it's that way. Conversely, if he says back up, or bring it back, or reverse, we know it's that way. Every engine's different, whether it's long or short nose. That's why the F is so important. These switches here, basically, you get fuel to the engine, and then you get electricity to the traction motors that I talked about before. And this is Barb's personal favorite. That's an air whistle. Today they're all electric, but obviously that still works. This is similar to the ones that were on the steam engines. This tells us the cylinder pressure, the air pressure, so that you can stop the cars on the train. The most important dial here is this is your air pressure. You don't go until you have 90 pounds per square inch. Otherwise, you'll apply the brake and it won't stop. This is not recommended. The other one here is the temperature. We're having trouble with our radiators today, so we're keeping a sharp eye on the temperature. We don't want to overheat the engine. This gauge is for the oil pressure. This makes sure that the oil pump is working. The oil also lubricates and keeps the engine cool, and we've got to make sure that this is at least at 40, which is where it is. This right here is the fuel gauge. Without fuel, it don't go. So this lets us know that the fuel pump is working properly, and this also needs to be at 30, but it's at 40 today, so we're okay. Got a heater down here. There's an emergency fuel cutoff that you can pull, and then you have a knife switch, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, but we can talk about that some other time.
All right, thank you very much for that overview. And now he's out of air. It's time for lunch. We'll take a little break and we'll be back. They're opening the doors so that the diesel can come in. Good old 123. He gave the signal. Like Bill said, it takes finesse to run the engine. Here is Charlie Sedgley, and he's going to tell you all about this marvelous locomotive. It's very, very old, but it's beautiful. Charlie.
Yes, ma'am. This locomotive is outshopped by Alco, which is American Locomotive Corporation. It was in Schenectady, New York, December of 1918. So yes, it is an old locomotive. It is what was called a light Mikado, which is a 2-8-2. That's 2 pilot wheels, 8 driving wheels, and 2 trailing truck wheels, okay? It was called a Mikado because the first of this wheel arrangement went to Japan, and of course the Emperor of Japan is the Mikado. And also there was a good Gilbert and Sullivan play that was very popular at that time. The locomotive itself, this one, went right to the Grand Trunk Western Railway, spent its whole working life in Michigan, even though Grand Trunk is a Canadian company. Spent its whole life in Michigan hauling freight for the Grand Trunk. Ironically, this locomotive figured in a little fupa that they had. In the first part of 1960, Grand Trunk, with much ballyhooing, went all diesel. In March of 1960, they got stuck with a 55-car freight train. No engine to pull it. Oh my. Somebody remembered good old 4070 sitting in the Roundhouse, and they threw a match in it, and the rest is history, as they say. 4070 pulled the last scheduled freight for Grand Trunk to Durand, Michigan. From there, 4070 unfortunately went to the deadline, which usually meant scrapper. Yeah. But a gentleman from Chicago saw it, rescued it, and ran fan trips with it out of Chicago for many years. It also ran fan trips for 2 years out of Pennsylvania. But in 1975, Midwest was able to acquire the locomotive and brought it to Cleveland. From that point, it became the infamous Zoo Train, and this is the one that ran in the Cuyahoga Valley. Right, pulled the Zoo Train from the Cuyahoga Valley through the Cuyahoga Valley line. So it went down, unfortunately, for mechanical reasons. Nothing serious, can be fixed. And Midwest is in the process of getting things around to where we can take and restore this locomotive right to the rails. It's a beautiful locomotive. You ought to see it running. We've seen tapes of it.
How many people volunteer to do the mechanical work on this?
Right now, we can't work on it, so nobody's working on it, unfortunately. But I think that everybody in our organization would be happy to volunteer to help us put this thing back together.
You hear that? They need volunteers. that know about engines, that know about how to do things. They would love to have your input. Come down and fix up this old locomotive.
We'd love to see her run again.
Okay. What got you interested in becoming a member of this association?
Well, that goes way back to when I was a wee little kid. My mother worked for the hospital at University on Adelbert there, and I was in a day boarding school. And the nanny, the day nanny, I would con her into going up the street to the New York Central servicing station there by Little Italy, where I would just dearly love to watch the locomotives going by. And even as a little kid, they'd see me sitting there, and all the engineers and all the hostlers and everything would wave and toot the whistles. And then one glorious day, a New York Central Hudson, a J3 Hudson came through, and boy, that engineer had her talking. And I was just smoke and steam and cinders everywhere. And right there, I said to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to be an engineer on a New York Central steam locomotive.
Did that come to pass?
It was all over by 1958, so it never came to pass.
Your dream did not come true,
Nope,
so
no, ma'am.
you are here.
Yeah, at least maybe one day I can put this locomotive back on the rails, and that'll make me really happy.
How long have you been a member of this organization?
About 4 years now.
And what got you started in this organization? Did you come to an open house? Did you talk to friends or what?
I used to go someplace in March, and we didn't go that year for, I don't remember why, but I stumbled into a railroad show, stumbled into David Shellhorn, and he recruited me. And I showed up here and said, oh boy, Charlie in Wonderland. It's like Tim Taylor in Tool Time.
There you go.
Yeah, this is the ultimate dirty, greasy tool.
Hey, you found your niche.
It's a guy thing.
Yes, we don't draw the line at guys. Girls can do it too. Girls love trains just as much. Tell me about that section that we're looking at right now, Charlie.
Well, what you're looking at is the piston and the valve section. The steam comes out of the boiler here, down this pipe, it's called dry pipe, into the valve section here. From there, it is proportioned into the cylinders. This section here is part of the valve system, okay? And there's pieces missing, otherwise we can't show you. There's a piston, just like in your car, goes back and forth in there. Now the steam is let into one side and then the other side, and that's how it moves back and forth. And of course, it's with the rods that you see on the floor here, connected to the wheels here. These are 63-inch standard USRA drive wheels. Small, some of the wheels went up to 84 inches on some locomotives, but for a USRA mic, 63 was standard.
63 inches is perfect. That's how tall I am. It's perfect. It's the perfect size.
I'm sorry, we're not going to mount you on an axle and put you on the locomotive. And of course, the piston, as it went back and forth, would shove the wheels around, and you get your circular motion. The 8 wheels, there's one set missing, were what was called the drive wheels. Okay, they put another section of wheels, the ones in the back. Those are trailing truck wheels. Those supported that boiler. Now what happened there was, originally, the American style locomotive was a 440. There was no trailing truck wheel. It got to the point where they started adding wheels. The firebox became very narrow and deep, and that was bad for getting draft. So to get a better firebox, they had to do something about putting the firebox behind the wheels and making the firebox bigger. Okay. And of course, you had to support that. You couldn't just leave it hanging there. So the support wheel was to help support the firebox and help the manufacture a better firebox.
Okay, so that's why you have the 2 wheels in the front.
Those are pilot wheels. Yes.
Pilot wheels, the 8 wheels in the middle, and the 2 wheels in the back as support.
Right. Originally, they didn't have pilot wheels or trailing truck wheels, and of course that limited their speed, because without the pilot wheels helped the locomotive go around the curves in the track.
Okay, well, I think we have a little understanding of that for now. And come on, we're going to move on to something else.
Okay.
Charlie, do you make any of your own parts for these things?
Well, not recently, no, but as you can see, it's not entirely impossible. We do have the machinery to do such functions.
Okay, so you really need a good machinist to do that.
Some of it is close tolerance, yes, and you do need a good machinist to make some of these parts.
Okay.
Eventually, we hope to get a real nice facility going where we can manufacture parts and rebuild engines and cars and put them out there for the public to see and enjoy. Yes,
Charlie, thank you very
You're welcome.
much.
Nice
And
talking to you.
nice talking to you. And I'll come back when you've got this thing up and running.
please do.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're on the back of a Pennsylvania Railroad business car that has, guess what? The back part, where everybody made political speeches and maybe even sang songs from the back end. A wonderful place. And I have met a nice young woman named Karen Bond, and she's going to tell us why she got interested in coming down here to volunteer her spare time.
As far as riding the railroads, I never had a chance to when I was a kid. And I thought to work around them and help these guys fix them, to see them on the rails again and making people happy was the best thing I could think of to do.
Were you like me? You had that whistle in the night?
Yes.
And what did
Yes.
that do to you?
I wanted to be right down there waving at them and going with them, see where they would go.
Okay, well that makes sense because I was always that way too. I'm glad that you decided that you wanted to do that. What brought you here at the beginning? Was there an open house or?
I think I heard about it by word in a conversation, and I seen an article in Sun News, and I thought I'm going to check this out for sure. I've got time in my life. I want to give something back to it.
Okay, and how is it working with all these people down here?
I love these guys. I love these guys, you know, and it's a lot of fun. You know, I do a lot of the little things like finding lost tools for them and taking water and the odds and ends, the little stuff, and sweeping sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, they're a good bunch of guys, and they got their hearts in the right places for these trains.
Okay, hey, you know what that means? Here we have a woman that's interested in railroad. There's going to be an open house coming up. Look in your newspaper possibly, check online, and you'll find out when the open house is. Come on down. Get in some interesting education about trains of the past. David, tell me about the Roundhouse.
Well, the Baltimore, Ohio Roundhouse was built in 1906 here in Cleveland. Behind us is 10 stalls that were original, and they added on in 1917 for the war effort in World War I. The condition of the Roundhouse today is, as you can see behind me, needs a little bit more effort for us to keep the building, and that is our focus right now, is trying to save the building.
Well, if you don't have the building, you have no place to pull your trains in to repair them.
That's exactly right. We are focusing a lot of our effort lately on the building restoration, on keeping it, and trying to purchase the remainder of the property from CSX Railroad.
And didn't you say something about you got part of a roof done or something?
We did. We put a roof on our machine shop, about 6,000 square foot, and we also put a roof on our roundhouse, which is about 11,000 square feet. And the roof project was done to maintain the integrity of the building.
Wow, yes, well, if you don't have a roof, you don't have much, do you?
Yes, you need to keep everything dry. That is critical.
Has the city of Cleveland given you any help in this?
Yes, the city of Cleveland's been very instrumental. They've given us quite a few support through dollars. We've used about $50,000 with the city, and we've had the government officials very supportive of our efforts here down in the flats.
Okay. At least we've got a little information. But dollars and contributions, donations are always accepted. This takes a lot of money and a lot of maintenance. This is Don Zier, and he is also one of the new members here, and so I wanted to talk to him. Don, what are you sitting on here?
Well, this would be a wheel that goes to one of the Pullman cars that we have here in the yard.
Pretty big, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty big, yeah. These wheels here would go to a switcher locomotive that we have inside the Roundhouse. What makes these different is the fact that they have a big gear that's on there that would be hooked to an electric motor.
Oh, okay, yes, those don't have any gears at all on them.
No, those are just free-rolling wheels that we have there.
What got you interested in becoming a member here?
Probably like some of the other members, I always played with model trains when I was, a little tyke. And when I found out that there was a Roundhouse down here that they have 12 inches to the foot scale trains, I decided to join up and getting my hands dirty and greasy just as well as they did.
Okay, now, Are you mechanically inclined?
Oh yeah, as a trade, I'm a machinist, so I'm sure my services will be well served down here, helping them out with the trains and things like that.
And how long have you been a member?
I've been a member about since March.
Oh, and
I'm a newbie.
how did you find out about it?
I was at a model train show and at the one that they have at the Curtin College, and there's a couple guys there that had a booth about the Roundhouse and things like that, and they were talking about it, and I'm like, sign me up, I want to play. So
Hey, you know what they say, the only difference between men and boys is the size and the price of their toys. We've got something else to see. Come on with us.
okay.
I am venturing in to an old Pullman car, and Don Hook is going to tell us more about it when I get inside. You know me, Andre. The first place I have to head, no matter what, is to the ladies' room. All day long, Don Hook has been helping us, and we are finally getting to interview him. We have held him here captive all day. Don, I know this is a ladies' room, but I also know that you know something about it. Tell us about this Pullman car and some of the things in the ladies' room.
Okay, thanks, Barb. Well, this car was built by the Pullman Company in 1924, and it's a 20-passenger sleeper car with a parlor on the back, which we'll see a little bit later. In the ladies' room here, this was truly a first-class car, and this is a first-class ladies' room. We've got 3 regular sinks in here and a small sink here. And every time we have an open house, somebody says, well, what's this small sink for? And basically, this is a dental sink or a toothbrushing sink because back in the 20s and 30s, when this car was built, it was not right to basically brush your teeth and spit into the same sink where people would wash their hands and face. So we have the regular sinks for washing and the one sink for dental use. And we have some nice brass racks here for the amenities. And also in here is the toilet room. And back in those days, they didn't have the nice chemical holding tanks. So when you press on the flush pedal that's down by the floor, you can actually look down. There's a flapper that opens. You can look down and actually see the track underneath.
So that's where it went.
That's where it went. So the next time you read a story about the romantic life of the hobos during the Depression, walking the track, remember where they were walking.
Ew! Oh my goodness, okay. And to finish this one part off, there are 2 chairs that swivel, 3 mirrors, lights everywhere so ladies could fix their hair and their makeup. Lovely place though.
It's a great room.
Okay, on to more things.
Barb, I see you're up on the ladder. You're getting ready to go to bed?
Well, I don't know if I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I'll tell you it was a task because you have to go up 4 stairs, then another which is even higher than the last step, and then you have a strap way here on the top to help pull yourself up. Now, I've got to tell you, I don't want the top bunk on this train. I want the bottom one. I'll let you take the top one. You have longer legs than I do. But there's also a nice hanger here to hang your coat and things, and the person below has that. Well, this is the ladder I just climbed, and I said I'd prefer the bottom bunk. I definitely want the bottom bunk. But tell me about this ladder. Does it stay here all night?
No, Barb. You were very lucky that you wanted to pick the bottom bunk because the people in the upper bunks had a problem if they had to get up in the middle of the night because there was only one ladder per train car. There are call buttons for the porter at each location, so if you needed to get up in the middle of the night or even just getting up in the morning, you had to call the porter and the porter would bring the ladder over to let you down because they didn't want people coming down in the middle of the night without assistance in the dark because they could have accidents that way.
I would say that would be very dangerous. Train moving, trying to get up and down on this, yes. I did notice something else over here, Don, that looks a little unusual. I've never seen that. What is that for?
This is a pocket where the person from the upper berth would put their shoes at night. And the porter would come around in the middle of the night, take everybody's shoes, take them back to his area in the back and shine up the shoes, bring the shine shoes back, and when you woke up in the morning, you'd have shine shoes in this pocket. This pocket was for the person in the upper berth, and the person in the lower berth would just put the shoes on the floor.
Oh, so you also didn't want to walk around at night because you'd have to trip over things.
That's a possibility, yes. Although they did have lights underneath the seats, kind of like you see in the movie theater. So it was actually pretty well lit.
Wow. Well, this car is beautiful, and this is velvet, isn't it?
This is newer fabric, but it's identical to the original. It was even manufactured by the original factory. Well, Barb has slid in behind one of the tables here in one of the compartments that is made up for the day riding as opposed to the sleeper berth that we looked at earlier. These tables were removable, and the porter would come over and attach it to the wall if somebody requested a table, if they wanted to play cards or do something else there.
Can you eat in here also?
You could eat in here as well. And also, if you wanted anything from the porter, notice your call button is right there under that mirror. So he would know exactly which seat to come to.
I could push the button and he would come. And was there such a thing as tipping back then?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I was going to say, or was that kind of included? I don't know that
I don't
either.
know. That's a very good question.
Well, you know what? That's your job. For the next time we come down here, you have to tell me if there was tipping or not.
It's a deal, and you can start the tradition right now if you'd like.
Oh. I love it. Oh, anything to get money, but you know what? They need money to run this facility. They need money. They need people to help. It's not always just good to give your money. It's good to come down and give them some manpower and some woman power. Those are both very important things. On to another section of the train. Well, Don, now we're in the men's room, and it's just as nice as the ladies' room. It's a little different, though. You have a long seat that you're sitting on. And what are those two things over there?
Well, this is one thing that definitely differentiates it from the ladies' room. We have a 110-volt outlet here for electric razors, and then we, for the regular blade razors, we have a place for used razor blades right there. And you notice there is no place to empty that. So every blade that's ever been put in there since this was built in 1924 is still in there somewhere.
But you know what? It strengthens the train.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Yes.
There you go. And you notice we have a call button there, too.
Yes, there was a call button basically every place in the train, and there's a place in the back where the porter could see exactly who was calling him.
Wow. I'll tell you, this was way ahead of its time.
It was.
In this part of the car, in this very seat, you said Robert Redford sat?
Yes, this was a seat where Robert Redford sat in one scene of the movie The Natural, which was a baseball movie that came out in around 1986. And our train, this car, two of our other coach cars, and the 4070 steam locomotive were all part of that train in the movie.
So was it actually filmed here also?
No, the train was taken out under its own power and filmed up in an area near Buffalo, New York.
And why was that? Just because of the scenery?
Probably so. I don't know the reasons for that.
Okay, so you really didn't get a bunch of movie stars here.
No, we didn't.
Oh, phooey.
Too bad.
Took them out of Cleveland and took them to Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, they probably had better tax breaks.
That's probably true.
This was the parlor car, and you notice the table here and other tables around. People would come back here and have drinks and play cards, and so they wanted to have nice lighting, and there were lots of nice big windows. This car, when it was originally built in 1924, had an observation deck on the back, the open observation platform, and then in 1934 they did some extensive work to this car and a number of other cars in this same series and enclosed it into the enclosed parlor that you see here.
Don, I have to say that we have had a wonderful day here, and it has really been an experience. I have learned a lot that I didn't know before, and I would like to really thank all of the people. Some of them are gone, of course, they had other things to do, but thank everyone in your organization that I interviewed, and I think that our viewers will love to see this show. And when do you usually have open houses here?
Well, this year we're having the open houses once a month, generally the first Saturday of each month. And you can see our full schedule for this year or any other year on our website.
Well, give that website one more time.
www.midwestrailway.org.
All right. You've heard it all right here. For now, we're going to say goodbye from Barb and Andre. We're the video storytellers. We're out and about, learning things, doing things that all of you should come out and do. Please come down, right down here to the flats in Cleveland, Ohio, to the Midwest Railway Preservation Organization. Oh, it's not organization. What is it?
It's society.
Society. Close enough. What can I say? Okay, bye for now.
We're rolling. The track is clear on both sides, and we're moving forward onto the turntable.